Alright, this little tutorial is going to show you how to use some of the intermediate version 6 tools. We're going to begin with a ring wrap and find us a nice oval to put at the center. You do bigger, right, of course. Right. Move this up into position where you want it located above the finger rail. And let's put this in a job bag. Okay, we're going to add a profile to this ring by placing it into Profile Placer. We're going to put this at the 3 o'clock position on the rail. Remember that if you turn on your O-snaps, it'll snap right to the quadrant of that ring. We'll scale this down to the thickness for the side of the ring. And we're going to offset it to create, offset it in the X direction to create a little split shank design. Just make sure it overlaps the Y axis. That's an important step. Okay, click on Add, and you'll get another profile right in the same place, but with all the handles still attached to it. You can click Position on Curve, and it'll start to control the new one. So let's put this just a little south of the gem, and then in looking down, we're going to position this up above the gem to create kind of our split shank look. And then you can go ahead and kind of twist this. It'll create an interesting shape. Okay, we can also size it. We can size it at this point, or we can size it later, thanks to history. Okay, and press Enter to place this. Now the way we're going to sweep this is with the surface tool called Profile Sweep, and all this requires is 2 planar curves. Planar just means flat, so we didn't do anything weird to this curve. It's still flat on its own little plane out there, which means if we were to make a surface out of it, it would be just flat and on a plane. Okay, so we didn't draw this, we just pulled it right out of the builder so we know it's planar. Same thing with this guy. So we'll go ahead and run this tool, Profile Sweep, between our 2 curves. There we go. And then we can see the effect that the surface is going to have. Let's go to a more friendly layer color. Okay, and thanks to history, we can begin to edit these and see the effect that the design is going to have. But more than that, we want to see all 4 quadrants of this ring at the same time as we work on designing it. So go to the Tools menu and turn on Mirror Mode. And we're going to go to the Quad mode for Mirror Mode. And once you turn it on, nothing evidently happens yet. You can see that it was turned on up here in the feedback line. When you're looking at these, just keep in mind that the little blue one is the original. So for the first one, right to left, the original has to be on the right. For top to bottom, the original has to be above. And for our quadrant, okay, in the looking down view, the original has to be in this quadrant. If you want to see that, zoom out, in between these 2 point objects is where the original has to be. Okay, same thing obviously applies to these as well. Okay, now once we start to make changes to whatever's in this quadrant, it's going to duplicate itself to the other 4 quadrants. So let's grab this little profile here, F6, MSR, and let's scale them down and scale them taller. And when you press Enter, you'll see the results in all 4 viewports together. Same thing down here. Let's grab this end, F6, MSR. We can make it a little narrower. We want to make sure it overlaps the other axis. Perfect. Okay. Now, it doesn't end there. We can add, we can, of course, not just move these around. We can also change their shape and figure out this is really the design that we want. So, click on F6, MSR, and choose a little shape icon with that active. And when the Profile Placer opens, you'll be able to choose a new shape for the ring and see it apply to all 4 quadrants. Pick any one you like. Press Enter, and you'll see the change immediately. Now we can continue designing this. For example, we want to drag this over closer. We don't just need MSR, we can just pick these up and move them around. And the whole surface changes. Okay, incidentally, we know we have the rotation cues, but if you're old school like me, you can just go ahead and rotate the profile. That's no problem. And so you can get a ton of different looks for one ring and watch it change and figure out. This is kind of your designing power here of history. Figure out if that's the design you want. Whoa, it just changed significantly. That's a little too dramatic. Okay. F6, of course, MSR, and the handles all come back right in the same position. Enter. Okay, now good, I'm glad this happened. Sometimes this is going to happen. If it places extra copies, that just means it's a very powerful tool that has a lot to think about, and it got a little confused, so just delete the extras. And you can tell which ones they are by looking at the original. Remember, this is only for those repeating or mirrored patterns. You don't want to use this if you're building something asymmetrical, of course. But okay, now just take a look. What Profile Sweep is doing is actually using the blend tool, so kind of like your blend targets here, just without blend targets. Okay, so that's the only shape you're going to get. So if you need to define this, go on to our advanced tutorials and look at how to use curve from two views with history and advanced custom rail. But if you just want a nice split shank design and practice Profile Sweep, which includes the history, of course. So when you move the profiles, the sweep keeps up. Practice mirror mode. And we're going to just finish off this design by switching over to the top to bottom mirror mode and run Profile Sweep one more time between these two profiles at the top. Enter. Okay, and it finished up the bottom of the ring for us. Beautiful. Okay. And we'll use the right to left mirror mode here. And the last tool, or the next tool to teach you is called Profile Merge. And if you select two profiles that are on the same plane in space, so these two are touching, it'll go ahead and create a single curve right around the outside of those two profiles. So it just saved you from doing a lot of work, which is just little busy work. Of course, the mirror mode helped us by placing a copy over there. We're now all done with mirror mode. We just hit cancel. And we can sweep the bottom of the ring very easily using sweep history. Closed equals no. And there's our design. The last little version 6 tool to teach you with this ring, which is really a great trick, is the tapered baguettes between two curves. You can put out any two curves where you want the tapered baguette to be, and then you get all the baguette builder controls right there at those curves. So let's stick this in a job bag and show you the last part of this little demonstration. Okay, grab a new layer color with which to create a curve. Grab the single line tool and just draw this curve anywhere that you want that tapered baguette to start. So we'll draw it here. Okay, now you just have to move it around to where you want the baguette located. And that's about right. You get a lot of flexibility with this, so it does not have to be perfect. Go ahead and duplicate it from here to the next spot where you want the baguette to end. So I'm looking down, it'll be right there. Enter. And go ahead and just position this down now. Move it down. I'm holding down shift so to make sure it goes in straight lines. Okay, and then see, oh, that's a little low, huh? It's actually very, very forgiving, this tool. So, all right, that's a good place to start. Now, this is a gems tool and it's called Tapered Baguette Between Two Curves. Yeah, okay, get that confused with the other one. Okay, go ahead and put in your two curves. And it'll draw the baguette. If it happens to come in Q-lit up by mistake, just do the flip, but this one's Q-lit down, so it's fine. Now you notice that you have all the baguette builder handles, so you can change the width at the top, the width at the bottom, and then if it's not perfectly centered between those two, along those two curves, you can move this because maybe your curves were not perfectly centered on your ring. Mine's okay. I've practiced this one a couple of times here. Okay, so just get the size you want for that baguette, and as you see, you can assign your own size 2.21. So whatever baguette you have sitting there, you can match that exactly. Obviously, we have the thickness of the girdle. Let's take a look. And then we have the overall depth of the baguette. Okay. Now that does all the positioning between those two curves, which is fine and dandy, but we have a little more editing to do. This is at a strange angle, and I told you the builder was very forgiving. So press enter, and then we're going to go into our regular old baguette builder. And notice where it says new baguette, we're not going to press that. We're going to take the existing baguette and put it in there. And it's going to bring us back all the editing handles, and we've already got the size the way we want it. So click from the size mode to the move mode, and we get the nice gem positioner handles. So if it wasn't exactly where we wanted it, it can be now. The last mode is rotate, and this is what we were really looking for to really be able to set this on the correct angle. Okay, maybe we want to go back to move and pull it down next to the gem. Press enter when you like it, and it goes back to being a real gem. And of course you can mirror this around F4 and finish your design. This is a really simple little ring that teaches you some great version 6 tools. Remember that we just covered profile sweep, mirror mode cancel. We did a couple different modes inside of mirror mode, profile sweep to finish this up, and then just placed two curves and did tapered baguettes between two curves.